All right, guys, gonna do a live Q&A and a little presentation with my buddy JP Mikhael from M3 Strength and Conditioning down in Florida. So gonna wait for him to jump in, but something that's to me extremely important. I'm getting bombarded with questions from parents. There's coaches on every corner of every town, yet we still have kids, I think, in my opinion, weaker than ever before. So that's strange, right? We have more information that's more easily accessible than ever before, and more accessibility with strength coaches all over the place. So that's kind of the confusing thing is, wow, everything's so easily and readily available, yet the athletes are weaker than ever before. Let's see if this is my buddy. Okay, we're just waiting on JP, which is M3 Strength and Conditioning. Okay.
Hey, Zach.
Rob, hold on, buddy. I got to get somebody else on here, so I need you to hop off.
Yeah, sorry. I sort of got this button and pressed it. Lots of love anyway. Nice to see you. Nice to chat to you, man. You're an idol.
Hey, stay on, buddy, while I get my buddy JP on.
Absolute inspiration.
Hold on, buddy. All right. So, JP, do a request to go live. You're going to hit, I think, the camera button on the bottom that waves, and that should allow you to go in. And hopefully Rob, who popped in, stays on. What a great smile that guy has. What a great smile. All right. So this would be, I'm going to say, not just for strength coaches, but parents of athletes, personal trainers, fitness coaches. There's my guy, Chris Cav. Okay. Great friend, not just the editor of Iron Journeys. All right, JP, hit the request, or let's see if, I don't think I could invite. Oh, yeah, I think I can invite somebody. There we go. I invite JP, and now we're going to be good. And while we're going through, guys, feel free to ask.
There we go.
JP.
Sorry, it took me a little bit.
Well,
how you doing?
Somebody else requested.
I saw it. That was pretty cool.
I was like, did JP change his username? But that guy was super nice, so now I feel horrible. So let's crush for about 20 minutes.
Sure.
If anybody has questions about high school strength and conditioning, we're gonna address those questions. But you and I been in the private sector for a long time, and then recently you've done tremendous work at Destin High School. I watched the videos, and so I saw you going from training them in a parking lot with a mini band and isometric exercises, and then 3-4 weeks ago they're doing full cleans, trap bar deadlifts, they're benching. It was awesome to see the safe and proper progression, but you really took it to the bare bones minimum. And the reason why I wanted to kind of talk about this is we're both working with football, and we've had quite a number of football players injured at my high school before we even had a scrimmage. So a comment I made before is, why are kids getting hurt more than before when there's more strength coaches everywhere, more information? So how are things looking down in, are you at Destin High School or Fort Walton High School? Which high school?
Well, so I was at Destin High School, but it's kind of a unique, really frustrating situation just out of nowhere, which I had no clue. Sorry about that. I lost you for a second. I had no idea. I guess they're not going to strength train in season. Very unique situation. I don't know the logic. I think it was some unorganization they went to a block schedule and nobody placed the kids like a class for all the kids. So I'm kind of like, my wheels have been spinning the last couple of weeks, kind of like, man, everything we do is progression based. We spend all this time building this stuff, and then I had no clue that we're not going to train in season. kind of crazy, man. You know, and I'm like, I hope, you know, I hate to see it for the kids. I hate it for the kids. I do have a few that are training with me in my facility, and I hope that some of them are training on their own. But I've never heard of a program doing this in my life before. I don't think it was the head coach's fault. I think it was just some unorganization with, I guess they don't, I don't know, Zach, man. I'm kind of.
Listen, what you're saying is, I don't care if I get in trouble for this, but the issue is in public schools, decision-making is just not always in the best interest of the kids. It's something I say all the time. And when I get in front of the coaches at my school, I say, every decision I make, I take a sheet of paper, I draw a line down the middle. What is best for the kids? What is not? I just choose for what is best for the kids. Now, you don't need to even be a strength coach or anybody you could be a mom who's never played sports, and you could say, Mom, if your son is going to play football, is it a good idea to stop strength training during the season when that is the very thing that helps them get the advantage? And that mom with zero athletic background would say, that doesn't sound like a good idea. And so, you know, hopefully, you know what they should do, kind of like what I do at my school. I train varsity and JV twice a week right after school for about 35 to 45 minutes. Sometimes Monday is 45 minutes, Wednesday is 35 minutes. And then once we start approaching that week or two of the playoffs, one lift a week, which is 100% more than zero, and kind of shocking. Like they should, this is where the head football coach should say, guys, here's what we're going to do. We need to get into that room once a week, or the booster club or whatever they have there should say, you know, everybody has to get to M3 strength and conditioning 1 day a week. So that's a question that comes up. What do we do in season? Train once a week. It's 100% more than zero. I'm afraid it's too much. Listen, the major concern is kids aren't doing enough of the strength work. Why? Because we have varsity athletes who can't do 5 to 10 push-ups. So trust me, they're not doing too much.
Oh yeah, I mean, it irritates me just seeing how hard we worked and the not knowing of, and you know what, you got to be consistent. Consistent, and I hate to see what happen is come week 7 or 8, they want to, all right, yeah, we need to start back strength training. Now you guys are going to want to go 3 days a week. We're going to reintroduce this new stressor. Now we're back at ground zero.
I saw you mention that.
What annoys you is what you could do with, I mean, 2 35-minute sessions a week, what you could do.
Tremendous. And I saw you post a video a couple days ago about adding stress to practice, school, in season. Those are all buckets of stress. And I've had this conversation with coaches. I'm shocked they don't realize that, okay, you haven't done any training in the off season, and now you want to start it in the beginning of the season. They haven't done there's no baseline. The practice and the competitions is not just physically stressful, it's emotionally stressful. School is stressful. And so they're operating at a deficit. And you're right. Then when you want to do it right before playoffs, I call that I don't just call it lack of preparation. I call it desperation mode, because you're like, now we have to do it. Yeah. Strength training. And when we say strength training, we use, that's like an umbrella phrase of various physical traits, should be done all year. And the smartest coaches like you and I, we just adjust according to the time of year. So, and look, you're speaking not just as a coach, but as a father of a son who you trained to go to a Division I school for football. So it's not like we're kind of making this up,
Even him, I was on the phone with him earlier, and he's talking about, we talk about homework, things he feels like the program's missing, and he gets freaked out. He's like, man, he was in there, he was working out on his own today at the campus gym. And we were kind of talking about, it's like, man, when you've worked so hard for something, you understand that these adaptations, they need to be maintained. Of course, you don't have to do much to maintain it. That's the beautiful thing. Yeah. You don't too much. I was looking at some studies that was saying between 10 and 30%. And I mean, when you think about it, you're like, if that's all I got to do, why would I ever want to regress?
It does. You're right. One of my kids is going to go to Monmouth University, which is a D1 school for lacrosse. And so I said, hey, you want to like take this next week off and deload before you go to school? He's like, nah, I think when I move in, you know, we're not practicing. We're not in the weight room. And he's like, I think I'm going to deload automatically because I'm trying to organize and the schedule. He said, so I think I'll just go to the campus rec center and do some quick lifts. And how does he know that? We had him intern with us. And now it's like he has such a deep understanding of training. He's actually trained with us in 7th grade. So
wow.
He's for about 5.5 years. So I said, dude, you could pick 2 exercises and superset them. You know, you could warm up for like 6 to 8 minutes with some calisthenics and light dumbbells, do your supersets, hit some jumps, and leave.
Yep.
So somebody just asked, Nicky Barinello, great coach, I think his brother is at one of the D1 schools, maybe at Delaware. He said, what would you do for in-season wrestling? And this to me, you know, these are easy questions. So give like a little rundown of how you adjust in season. What things do you remove and stuff like that?
Me personally, I'm a huge proponent of the trap bar. I just think it's, you know, it's a global stressor. It doesn't make like the athlete so sore. And I just think it gives you the best bang for a buck. So personally, I just an upper body push, an upper body pull, and usually like a trap bar or a front squat. Also, too, if I'm working private sector, I'm dissecting what they're not doing.
Yes.
We've been doing with it. Like right now, I got it in my facility. I have quite a few. One of the local schools, the guys are having, you look at their program, they're having a bunch of hamstring problems. So we've been hammering like the Nordics and a hinge pattern, but that's specific for their program in the private sector. But when I was working at Destin High School, I keep it basic, man. You know, front squats, trap bar, even deep, heavy goblet squats.
Yes.
Strength, upper body push and a pull. And I don't kill them on reps. I'm not one of those guys that goes reps to 2 threes. I'd like a set of 5. I keep it there. And then if anything, if we're getting real in season, I just back them off. Like, hey, build up to a heavy set of 5. We'll do compensatory acceleration sets up to that heavy 5. 1, I want you to keep some in the tank, a good upper body push pull. And I mean, your banded push-ups, basic calisthenics, like, and I just don't do stupid stuff with them. Like, I take out like a lot of explosive work. I might do a little something in their warm-up, but they're getting a lot of that in their sport. So I'm just looking at, man, all their practice load and everything. This is the time that they need real strength work.
Yeah.
When me and give them a little bit of mobility, and then you know we're good. It's basic, really? Man. But it's like, it's amazing how if you do it, you can still progress kids and make them stronger. I think the biggest thing, we got to spend time. Like yesterday, I had athlete. I told the parents, I could just tell from the workout that they hadn't ate enough. We had made great progress the last 3 weeks, and you could just tell. And it's like, listen, man, you guys got to ramp up these calories, hydrate. I think those things we got to hammer kids on. I'll tell you what, myself in the private sector, this is a little jump in topics. I'm to the point for myself now where it's just like, I'm not working with anybody unless they and their parents are serious.
So what is like
now with a girl today and her parents, I was like, how serious you guys are about this? You know,
I'm kind of moving into that as well, where my coaches are taking over the groups, and my son and daughter are a couple of years behind your son. My daughter's going to be a junior. My son will be in high school. My wife always reminds me, she's like, remember, like you're always talking about building beasts. Your first job is to build our kids into beasts. Yep. But what you said about front squat, trap bar deadlift, hit a 1 quality set and be done. I spoke with my buddy Craig Fitzgerald this week, strength coach for New York Giants. He said the same thing. Jim Wendler said in season, he doesn't really back squat. He's like, we just trap bar deadlift or goblet squat.
Yeah.
You know, Craig Fitzgerald said the same thing. He's like, I love the goblet squat because it integrates mobility and you get that bending pattern, which you don't get from a trap bar. Do you guys release the bar or do you do the eccentric? Do you get tied up in that?
So, yeah, I do. I would think in terms of the concentric trap bar. I haven't done that yet with them yet, but I would think about week 7, getting close to maybe playoffs in there. You know, specific certain athletes, yeah, a concentric pull, I'm cool with that. I definitely would see myself implementing that towards getting towards that end of the season, I think. But I want to hold on towards that beginning of the season. A lot of those kids, the freshmen, sophomores, especially Destin. Now, I was working with a new program. Yeah. So maybe I had some higher level skill guys. Then, yeah, I'll do like a concentric pull. I'm cool with that. Sure.
Here's another thing. You mentioned Nordic leg curls. I spoke with my buddy Jesse Ackerman this morning. Every day I'm texting, communicating with coaches like yourself, my buddies, getting just trading information. So we've got kids that are ankles injured, groins injured, hamstrings injured. And here's what I'm going to say about that. Those are kids that are often training with another strength coach. And I'm not getting any communication from these other strength coaches. And that's where it does not work. Whereas I don't know if they ask, I said this at our parent meeting, if your son goes to a private strength coach, they should say, hey, what did you do at school? We say this, you and I say this all the time. I hear you saying it on your videos. We're going to fill the gaps. We're going to complement what you're doing. And so I'm thinking to myself, how do we have kids with hamstring pulls? We didn't even have a scrimmage yet. And the issue is too many coaches they're making it about them, meaning like, hey, I developed John Smith. He's fast because of me. And then you end up beating the kid up. And the bottom line is kids can't handle as much training, I feel, as they were able to 10 to 12 years ago. So whereas I would have athletes oftentimes train 4 or 5 days a week, now I tell them, listen, train 3 days a week, complement it with, that's off season, then do your skill, because a lot of them are going to all these sport clubs. So that's the thing, is like, there's more strength coaches than ever before. There's more information than ever before. I have seen more injuries than ever before. Isn't that ironic?
It really is. And I think a lot of them, man, like, I don't know. I just think the hours in doing this, some of the stuff that I'm doing now, I know people are looking at me like, man, why doesn't this guy do this lift first? Like, we're doing the Nordics first. Yep. We're doing the chins first. These certain things that to me are strength work. To me, they're just like, we got to work on these things first. And what I'm finding, I'm getting a better, when we go to squat or when we go to hit the trap bar, I'm getting better quality work. Like the athletes nice and primed up. I think I don't know. I think people just think you got to, regardless, I have to squat, bench, and clean this guy. Guess what? They benched in school. I'm going to barbell bench them again. Like, I just use dumbbells with them.
Yeah.
I give them stimulus that's going to help make them better.
They went, I did heavy cleans. I'm thinking they look like a, jumping jack back bend. Hey, we're going to do speed technique cleans for sets of 2. You're going to do like a couple warm-ups. You're not going to go heavy. You're going to use it at like 50% of what you did at school. And you might get 3 or 4 sets of 2. That's only 6 or 8 total reps, but they're perfect. And they said compensatory accelerator. They have intent behind it. Or, okay, you benched. All right, what about, we did some rowing. I've seen a lot of kids do one-arm dumbbell row. It's very sloppy. All right, kid, we're going to go chest support row. We're going to do a one-arm recline row. We're going to do one-arm kettlebell carries to build some stability. And what you were saying, I was thinking of it this morning. I texted Jesse Ackerman. I said, are you against Nordics in season just for like 2x5 into the warm-up? And he said, no, absolutely do it, because it is a flexion exercise. But I think it's just doing 2 quality sets, which I saw you do on a recent video. It's enough but it doesn't overwork them, and it's keeping them strong. And then the other issue at my school is kids, when they're injured, they take the strength training session and skip it and go to the trainer. So at my school, what I'm trying to do by next year is, instead of having one phys ed class, I'm going to have, I don't care what they call it, but it's essentially going to be an athletic preparation class. So let's say you need to see our trainer. You could see her for 30 minutes. Then she text messages me and says, Zach, ABC is not, it's not feeling too hot on John Smith or Susie Smith. Boom. Now I can work around it. Right now it's an either or. When you stop strength training, here goes your confidence.
Oh, yeah.
It's like crashing, you know, it's like an airplane crashing.
Yeah.
And how do I do it? Like you said, you could see it when they don't eat. And a mom was on the phone with me today about her son. And one of the kids we train is like at her house, at the pool. He's 8th grade or entering 8th grade. She's like, he looks ripped. He looks amazing. And she was making confidence. And I said, I think that's the best thing we do, is we understand how to train them in such a way. I think training in general, as you know, builds confidence. But when you've done it long enough, you know how to like communicate to the kids so that they're noticing their gains, and they're like, yeah, I am getting strong. Confidence is such a like weapon. It's a powerful weapon.
Absolutely. I started just with all the athletes that I work with, you know, I put a personal text message between them, and I always put their numbers in there, date, what we hit, what we did.
Nice.
Just so after a few weeks, they see that progression. I'm hoping that soon they see, hey, you see what happens if you miss.
Yeah.
Got to backtrack.
Yeah.
So that's something I just started recently doing.
Missing one training session in a week, if you're only training once a week, now you've actually missed 2 weeks.
Yeah. I tell everybody I can't, the one time a week I'll do it, but I just feel like you spend 30% trying to relearn what you did last week. And I always tell parents, like today I just signed up a girl. She's a junior volleyball. Parents very serious. And it's in season. I said, look, let's 2 times a week. Let's start 2 times a week. Soon as season ends, we'll rev it up to 3 times a week. But I'll tell you what's interesting. What I've been getting a whole bunch of messages for and a bunch of phone calls today and the last few days is parents contacting me, you know, about their kid, you know, for football. The coach says, you know, he needs speed. The coach says, you know, he needs agility. I've been getting a bunch of these phone calls. And I'm just like, and I'm trying to puzzle in, okay, how are we going to do this with them playing sports? How are they going to get into our facility? And I really just hope that these parents, everybody keeps the same energy. When the season ends, you need to attack this.
Right.
You take off from the sport, but now's the time to get on your physical preparation. When the season ends, let's go. I'm all for it. I'll take you on now, but we can do damage if we get ahead as soon as the season ends and you bring them in, and it's like, why wait?
I got, you know, a message to parents is this needs to be done year round. It is an investment. If you think we're saying it because, oh, they want money, listen, I tell my son the same thing. He plays baseball. I tell my daughter the same thing. If you want to be great at this, this is what it takes. There's that video by Nick Saban. Sure, Nick Saban's at Alabama. 93% of high school kids will not compete in college. So, all right, while you're in high school, does that mean don't go all in because you're not competing in college? Our job is really to protect their son or daughter. How can I protect you if you don't show up? You cannot get strong when you're not showing up. And so, all right, speed and agility in season. My coach said he needs to get faster. Well, now, like you said, where were you in the off season when we had a lot more time to develop? And now you're coming to us essentially in an act of desperation. Yeah. And I know you said this in a recent video, and we sound rude. Coaches are uneducated, so they tell the kid or the parent something strange. For example, a coach told one of our kids, we are doing power cleans so you could get more explosive. And the coach said the power clean is from the floor. Power clean is where you're catching it. power clean from the floor means I'm pulling it from the floor. Now, listen to this, moms and dads and coaches. The first pull from the floor is not explosive. It's a controlled lift. Then when it passes the knees, then it becomes explosive. So we do, JP and I, we do different things for explosiveness. And the power clean from the floor is actually not the safest position. Donnie Thompson said to me, most injuries occur pulling the weight from the floor. And one of our coaches, he's a strength coach at Monmouth. He said the hang clean, the hang power clean is the most, the hang position is the most natural position, and it has great carryover.
That's what I'll coach in a group setting is the hang clean. I won't floor in a group setting.
Correct. So we're not trying to be mean when we say they're uneducated, but it's the same as like we don't tell them how to coach football. What we need more of that's missing in America is the sport coach contacting us, or even when you're within the school. I don't have too many coaches even looking at what I do with their kids in the weight room. They're not even there.
Yeah.
So there needs to be a continuity. When I coached at Rutgers and Lehigh, the coaches would always pop into the weight room or lift with us. And if they didn't, when the training session was over, I was in their office. And then we would say, hey, how was JP doing? Here's how he looked in the match. Can you work on this with him? So-and-so. Or I'm in the training room. Hey, John Smith tweaked up his knee, tweaked up his groin. They don't feel too good after this. There's this communication there. We're missing that. And I think that causes a lot of road bumps in a performance program, because there's you and I, there's the strength coach, then the sport coach does his thing. Then what's happening at home is another. Then there's maybe another strength coach in the mix. There's too many coaches for one kid.
One of the things that I'm very against, and I see it around here, around a lot of the local high schools, is they got skill coaches coaching strength, and that just shouldn't be. That shouldn't happen.
Or linemen. I mean, interesting. Oftentimes it's like
position coaches coaching strength, and 90% of what they're doing is they're doing what they did when they played, or they go to these big NFL or big Power 5 seminars and look at what big Power 5 schools are doing, and they're over there doing like dynamic effort. Maybe it's banded compensatory acceleration squats, and these guys are already strong. Like, these guys already have a base. These athletes, they're focused on rate of force production, completely different than what a bunch of 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th graders should be doing. I just think, I don't know. I like what I had going on at Destin with like a progressional system for freshmen, using the deep goblet squats, and man, just the trap bar, what you can accomplish. And one of the things, I'll tell you what I took from Dan John. I took this from Dan John, is he says, the squat, he said, we squat for mobility first, strength second.
That's right.
And I borrowed from him. And then I just say our trap bar, which I kind of got this from Jim Windler. And he kind of says the same thing, is just like our brute, strength movement.
Yeah.
And I like
to Jim and Dan. And by the way, people who don't know, Dan John was a high school strength coach 20 plus years ago. So I took so much stuff from him. He actually didn't change the weights on the trap bar. He had them lined up down the room. The weights were welded on.
You want to know something?
Yeah.
I did that. So we had 7 or 8 trap bars in there, and it'd be like 4 guys to a trap bar. I said, I want to see if this works better. I went in there and I set up 135, 185, 225, 270. Went so much better. The athletes like that. So that worked really well. Go by there, get your set, ramp up, get your set.
I know.
So
and people doing this crazy advanced stuff, it makes me think, I've got varsity football players who can a full body weight squat in the warm-up. So I walk up to them and say, how old are you? 16? All right, I'm 47. I'm basically, I'm almost 3 times your age. I've had 4 knee surgeries. Watch me do a full body weight squat, no warm-up. How am I 30 years, 31 years older than you? Could plop down. You can't. Oh, but you got to go to another coach to do speed work and this and that, but you can't swallow them. So
yeah,
too many chefs in the kitchen. Mom and dad, you want your kids to have a great experience, keep them in one place. Stop jumping around. And going back to Nick Barinello, the wrestling coach, asking about in-season work, that's also a problem with wrestlers. They go to this wrestling coach, then they go to another one for privates, then they go here and there. I have never seen wrestlers, football players, athletes go to so many coaches yet achieve less than ever before. And Nick said, how do you train them in season? Because they'll often have matches Wednesday, Friday. Saturday have a tri-meet or a quad meet. So they're going to have 2 or 3 matches. It's like a mini tournament. So here's the deal. If you have a good off season, if you want a great in season, you need a great off season.
That's everything. And when you were talking about the North, you were saying that, I said, well, what were they doing in their off season? You know, I would be scared to death to introduce a Nordic in season if we hadn't been doing them, right? I would maybe like just a couple reps with a band, like I would be scared to death. But if you did everything in the off season you were supposed to do, the in season is cake, you know? So the athletes don't even get sore, and you can continue to get stronger if you're using the same movements. Never introduce a new movement in season. Stick with the basics. And like they say, when do you want to be strong? Do you want to be strong week 8 or just at the beginning of the season and then deteriorate?
Bailing out. So at my high school, my wrestling coach, and here's the crap, my wrestling coach he retired last year. We trained the day before matches. We trained on Fridays the day. Why? Because we trained all year. But if we had that tri-meet the next day, we went to a 30-minute or 25-minute. They'd come in and they would do like squat, lunge, push-up, recline row, 2 rounds. And then they might do goblet squat or trap bar deadlift, work up to 2x5. Then you're going to do a dumbbell bench or a dumbbell floor press or a bench press for 3x5, light, medium, heavy. You're going to row, maybe get 1 set of carries and like 2 sets of jumps. So that is just integrated into the program. Now, a lot of people hate on them because of, the drug use that happened in Germany and Eastern Europe and Russia and all that. But the best thing that the Soviet system did, which is where if we could do it in America, the sport coach and the strength coach was the same person, or they were under the same roof doing.
That's right.
And so there was this constant communication and they just had more control. So for me at the high school, when I see you on Monday, I don't know what you did on Saturday and Sunday. I don't know if you went to a private strength coach both days one day. I don't know if you partied Saturday and went drinking and you don't know how to drink water on Sunday. Now you're dehydrated. There's just so many missing factors. But at home, your son is now in college. I know you got a little one coming up, so it's going to be cool to see, that kind of coaching and parenting experience. But at home, my kids eat breakfast. Their lunch is chicken and rice in a thermos. They don't buy the school lunch. They come home, early dinner. Then we've got sports, this, that. Then we have another dinner at home. Then at night, my son might have a protein shake. My daughter might have Greek yogurt. Like, that stuff changes. My son is going to be a freshman. He's bigger than I was when I was a senior. Proper training, proper eating, proper everything. Does that make sense? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's, entering freshman year. He was bigger than leaving entering senior year. Strong.
Wow. Yeah.
Same with your right?
A lot of these kids, they're just not eating enough. My son tells all the time, and you could see it. They a lot of them just want to be ripped.
What about when your son, when you were taking Jaden to the gym in the mornings before school? Was that all in high school or 8th grade? When did that happen?
That in 8th grade. It started that in 8th grade. He didn't make the basketball team. He wasn't a good athlete. He made like 2 touchdowns as an 8th grader. And that was enough to light it, say, hey, is this something you want to do? Like, all right, listen, I'll train you. And it was 4 a.m. you know, I was oh yeah, I had to be at the gym 5 a.m. And I was like, look, if you want to go, let's go. You know, his mother lives in Georgia, so he lived with me. And there was mornings in the bed where he was just like, Dad, please, man, I don't want to go. I'm like, nah, you're going. But when he showed up for 9th grade year, he was the second fastest on his team. He had the strongest power clean on his team, and that he made him buy in. That gave him that. He's never wanted to lose that, knowing. See, and that's the beautiful thing about this is that, man, this will teach you so much about life. It's just like life. You don't get the cheapest steps. Everybody has to go through. It's all progression based. Everybody, you got to do the work. You don't get to cheat it. And he's the same way now. It hasn't changed. And that's why I tell parents all the time. Parents are like, oh, he just doesn't want to do it. I'm like, your kid doesn't. He hasn't seen the fruits from their labor. Yeah. They don't know.
JP.
You got to make a kid for them to see it. And then just being consistent. And Zach, I was thinking when he turned 16 and started driving, when I used to have to drive him to everything, I was like, all right, we're going to see if he's really, because I'm not getting him up. We're going to see if he's really, shoot, man, he had a key to my gym. He's in my gym. I remember we're coming back from football camp. He's in the gym 9, 10 at night, pumping away.
Dude.
So it was cool to see, man.
So what you know, for the people that haven't followed you, when they start following you, they could go back and see videos.
Oh, yeah.
You've been like ramping up your videos for training athletes. And you said that, listen, young kids should train. I came across a video recently. I don't know who the guy is. I'll have to repost it. He's on a podcast with 2 other women. I think this guy's like a realtor, super successful. Mm-hmm. And they said, he said, what would be your advice to your sons? And it's 2 women. They're like, I would tell him to have fun and live his life. He's like, you know what? I tell my
Oh, yeah. I love that video.
He goes,
he's like, shit, my sons are going to kill your sons.
He goes, I would tell him to do the opposite. I would tell him to fucking work his ass off.
Yeah.
Because all the parents that keep telling your kids, have fun, do what you want, they avoid the fucking work.
Yep.
That's a major problem. So listen, let's shut it down here. We got M3 Strength and Conditioning on Instagram.
Yes, sir.
And the website, same thing, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I love talking shop, love building. Anybody wants to reach out to me, reach out to me. You know, a lot of this, me and Zach share a lot of the same beliefs, and hey, if you got something that's working, anybody who does this, let's build.
Nice. And I think people should take you up on some business coaching because you're a beast. You're killing it. I love what you're doing. So let's do this again. Have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you later, my bro.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Bye.